The following program is being presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of ALC TV or the City of Avon Lake.
Welcome to Common Sense. Common Sense is a series of shows that feature interviews with interesting people so that we can learn in a clear, concise, and direct way who these folks are, what they do, and what makes sense to them and what doesn't. Welcome, Chad. I'm Rudy Breglia, and this is Chad Wilson, the president of Engage Range.
Virtual Range.
Engage Virtual Range that is on Pin Oak Parkway in Avon Lake.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Chad, why don't you start us off and give us some of your background, talk about your career a little bit, what brought you to this part of Ohio?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for the opportunity to share our story with you and the community. We appreciate that. My career and background has been in technology largely, and providing automation for businesses to be more efficient and largely through web and internet type technologies. And so we had the fortune of building a distribution company a few years back and building it up and got to do it with my wife, and we built it and we were acquired in 2016, which left me jobless in the end, which led us to the opportunity we're going to talk about today, which is also a technology type company, but it introduces unique experiences for people to train and entertain using firearms in a safe and controlled environment.
Okay. I guess that's my first question. What is a virtual range?
So a virtual shooting range is much like a golf simulator. So if you're familiar with a golf simulator, take out the golf clubs and introduce firearms, mainly pistols. We also have some rifle options as well. And so there's no live fire. There's no ammunition. It presents an opportunity to practice and train, and in what we found in the years that we've been at this is there's a recreational opportunity for folks to come have fun, compete, think top golf, but with firearms.
Okay. What are the typical backgrounds of your clients?
Yeah, and
if there's any typical.
There isn't necessarily. When we started the business, our first location is in Medina, so just south of here, and we opened that 4 years ago. And we thought that the business would tend towards enthusiasts, people who typically go to firing ranges, who might train with regularity. And what we found over the last 4 years is our opportunity, or our market is much bigger than that. We do cater to the training crowd. We get a lot of folks that come and want to either save on the ammunition, want to do exercises that maybe they can't necessarily do at a live fire range because of safety concerns. We work with law enforcement. Avon Lake PD is one that trains with us, so they come to us, and we'll talk more about our situational training, very serious training that they do with us, and we get individuals who for home defense or for personal defense may either have firearms in their home or carry on their persons, and so they want to be able to train, and we can do very unique training that you can't do elsewhere. But what we've found over the last 4 years is that a lot of our customers, probably half, come to us more for recreational purposes. The family was looking for a unique outing. They want to come and maybe get a little bit of exposure in a professional environment so that everyone's comfortable with firearms. But at the end, by the end of the hour or 90 minutes that they visit us for, they're having fun, and they're focused on the leaderboard to see who's winning and who's got the best scores. And
so it's a game in a way.
Yeah, we don't refer to them as games because firearms are very serious, and we're very conscious of that. And so we do drills, exercise, competitions. We stay away from the word games for that reason.
I understand. Yeah. So you don't need to be experienced with gun handling.
Not at all. No.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of our customers have never held a gun. And I'm sure we'll talk more about our instructors, but we have a fantastic introduction for new shooters so that they can get acclimated, they can hold a gun for the first time, they can go through the fundamentals, they can feel comfortable. Firearms are intimidating. If you've never shot one before at a live fire range, they can be very intimidating. The recoil, the need to wear eyes and ears is all adds to that intimidation factor. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, you can hurt yourself at a range, or somebody else can hurt you. And so we've removed a lot of that, if not all of it.
All that risk is gone.
That's all gone, but we still take it very seriously. Safety concerns are important to us, especially with youth. We finger off the trigger, the firearm downrange. Even though nobody can get hurt in our environment, we don't want to instill bad habits and want people to leave with the appreciation for firearms.
Okay. How do simulated guns operate on the range?
Yeah, good question. So the guns are very lifelike. They feel, they're weighted, very similar to a live fire, either pistol or rifle. But at the end of the day, there's a laser that when you pull the trigger, some of them have recoil, so you get the recoil sensation. But it at the end fires a laser, and with some high-speed cameras and some technology, it's able to detect the exact what ends up being a pixel placement on the screen, but the laser is picked up by the cameras and detected and then reported back to the computer. And all that happens in about 2 milliseconds, and the system reacts, and you either hit your target or you missed it.
Okay. Describe what happens in a typical virtual range session.
So we have a lot of different experiences for our customers. When they make a reservation, they choose whether they're coming for training purposes or entertainment purposes. And so depending on which path they go down, they might identify that they've never shot before. Well, we'll take them through the fundamentals. We have what we call curated experiences that we know of, we've tested and tried and gotten lots of customer feedback to know that this is a 60-minute experience that will introduce folks to firearms. Those who have experience, we take down a different path, and they get into the drills quicker. They maybe, if it's been a while since they've shot, we might go through some quick safety reminders, introduce them to the sim guns and a couple nuances with those, but then quickly get them to doing drills and repetitions for those who are more experienced, repetitions and muscle memory and the drills are more important for them, and ammo is still very expensive these days, and so a lot of them will come in and have an opportunity to shoot a firearm many times. It would cost them hundreds of dollars on an hour to be able to train in that way.
Okay, so it sounds like you customize the lesson depending upon the abilities of the client.
Yeah, depending on experience, how many times they've been in. Youth, we treat differently. We're pretty serious when it comes to the safety side of things with youth, and again, it comes back to instilling good habits. But even adults. And on the other end of the spectrum, we get the bachelor parties, and they come in. They want to plink away. The safety is not really a high concern for them, but they want to compete and they want to have a good time and they want to joke and really enjoy the experience.
Have fun with it.
Have fun,
even
with
though
it.
it's a serious.
Yep. Yeah, and we look at it. It's a similar experience to Topgolf. So Topgolf took the sport of golf, which was on a decline, but re-energized it and brought. And I'll be careful with this word because we stay away from game, but they brought gamification to the sport of golf. And so we look at our business as very similar in that manner, that we've taken a shooting, which has a sport component to it, which has a self-defense component to it. It's multifaceted, and we've brought it to the marketplace in a way that is safe and usable by all, but also has the scoring and leaderboarding and the ability to improve. And so, in a roundabout way, I think I'm answering your question, but we get folks that come to us to improve their accuracy or improve their handling, and the scoring allows them to be able to benchmark that and to understand the improvement that they've made. And we have others who come to us who just want to beat their friends or their family, and so the scoring, again, the gamification of that gives them that same opportunity.
What's the best way for someone to develop shooting skills? And I think there's going to be a photo shown as an example?
Yeah, so at our range, we go through the fundamentals with our guests. It starts with sight alignment. So they need to understand what their dominant eye is, to start with that. And then they understand, we take them through a process of understanding the firearm itself and creating a sight picture, which is on screen, using the back posts in the front, so that they can get a understanding and appreciation for when they pull the trigger, where their shot's going to end up in our world on screen, in the real world on target.
Right.
And so we start with that. We work into grip, and we go over proper grip with them. Again, reinforcing finger off the trigger and certain safety. But ultimately, we look at stance and show them what we believe are preferred stance. And then lastly, the actual trigger pull itself, and teach them the best practices when it comes to once you've got your aim, once you've got your stance and your grip, how do you then pull the trigger? And so when someone comes to us that's never shot before, that's a very typical progression that we go through, and it doesn't take long for people to get the hang of that, and we obviously then move into more intermediate type drills and exercises.
Okay, well, you mentioned it before. What is muscle memory, and when does it become important when shooting a gun?
So muscle memory is most important in a high-stress situation. When, if you think about law enforcement or somebody who's maybe protecting themselves or their families, there isn't much time to think. And so muscle memory is the concept is because you've practiced an activity, whether it's a sport or firing a gun. It's relying on the practice that you've gone through and done, particularly more recently, and that's a big factor when it comes to muscle memory, is recency. If it was 5 years ago that you did 1,000 drills, your muscle memory isn't going to be very good.
Yeah, what was that?
But more recently, it's the idea of being able to react without having to stop and think about, what am I going to do next? What is my stance? What is my grip? And going, call it intuition, muscle memory, but going off of your experience and the exercises and drills that you've done in the past.
I'm sure police
Very much
need
so.
that.
Absolutely, very much so. And Avon Lake trains regularly, both with us and in live fire. So the local PD here is got fantastic resources when it comes to training, beyond even what we provide them. But very impressive training regimen here in the community.
How quickly can inexperienced client become proficient with handling and targeting a gun?
We believe at the end of an hour that you can have basic understanding. Proficiency, obviously, it takes some practice and some repetitiveness, but it's not an overwhelming achievement. Within a few hours of training, and I'm sure we'll talk more about our instructors and the role that they play in the experiences. But we believe within a couple, 2, 3, depending on aptitude and background.
Sure.
That
There's variation.
Variation. Somebody that's maybe never held a firearm before could be fairly proficient within a few hours of training. Again, repetition and practice are a must-have if you would choose to carry or have a firearm in your home for defense purposes.
Just like playing golf.
Exactly like playing golf.
Describe the general backgrounds for your instructors.
Yeah, and the instructors are really an important piece of our business and the experience that we deliver. Most of them come from a law enforcement background. Some have a military or some sort of NRA type training. And so that brings a lot of experience and credibility. And so we particularly look for retired law enforcement who did a career in policing but still like people, and not all of them get to retirement with that same mindset. But those that we hire are those who still enjoy teaching and sharing their knowledge, and because they come from either the law enforcement or we look for pretty specific military backgrounds, they have a lot of training experience, and they've got a lot of hands-on knowledge and desire to share that with with our customers. So the instructors are a key part of that. They're with our guests throughout the reservation. They run the technology, but they're there also to help with wherever they are in their learning or even their entertainment aspirations when they come to us, to help them achieve that. And so the newer shooters, certainly there's a different path than the experienced ones. We have some people that come weekly and they jump right into more advanced topics and are more about maybe holster draws and teaching them how to do room entries and various more advanced tactics. And so the instructor's role is really important because they understand our customer, and then obviously deliver them a custom experience that is designed to help them learn or in many cases enjoy their experience.
Okay, and they have the background of to protect and serve.
Yes, absolutely.
Can the instructors give recommendations on guns that would be suitable for the interested client?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. We give guidelines is probably a better way to describe it.
Okay.
If somebody, and frequently people will ask us, I've been thinking about buying a firearm, where do I start? Well, you're in our facility, so you did the first thing, you came to us because we can introduce a lot to you without you, going to a live fire range. And our instructors are trained to introduce a few different options. We don't sell guns or sell accessories, and so we don't have a preference in make or model. But depending on what your need is, if it's home defense or maybe it's, if somebody wants it in their purse or to carry it on themselves, there's different types of pistols that make sense for them. And so we do provide recommendations. We do also suggest that they go to a local live fire range and they try several different guns. That's really important. A lot of times you'll go into a gun store and they have a tendency to sell you what they have in stock, which is not necessarily what is the best for the consumer. Yeah. Yep. So we guide, but we don't make specific recommendations.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe I should have asked this question in the beginning, but what are the goals of Engage?
So our goals is obviously to introduce firearms in a safe and responsible way to the general public, to provide training. But as we've found over the last 4 years, also provide a unique entertainment option to come and compete with family and friends and have a good time and enjoy a sport in a lot of ways that is today not accessible. I shouldn't say it's not accessible, but it's the pathway to shooting sports is it's unclear. It's not. Top Golf did this to golf. A lot of people that have never played the sport before, you don't just show up at the golf course and say, I'd like to play 7 holes. Well, of course not. It's 9 or 18.
Yeah.
And so if you've never been introduced to that, there's a hurdle to get over. And so we look at that and say, well, that's applicable in our space. And firearms, while politically polarizing to some, also have a sporting aspect to it. And the entryway to that is not real clear when it comes to live fire. And so we believe as a business that we can introduce the general public, people who want to have personal protection. We can introduce them in a new and a unique way, using technology and using simulated firearms and obviously our instructors being a key piece of that. So as a business, that's really why we exist. That's interwoven into everything that we do. And is what's important to us.
What are some of the common sense safety rules for owning a gun?
Sure. Proper storage is number one. If you own a gun and have small kids, you need to be extra careful when it comes to that. That might mean a safe or a locking device. Keeping on top of the fridge is not acceptable. Certainly, if you don't have kids in the home, it's a little bit different, but still securing it in a safe way. And so there's the obvious. We kind of see those as your most obvious. But the one that we believe a lot of people overlook is the need for the training. A year ago, Ohio went to an open carry or constitutional carry law, and so while the CCW training is still available and the certification and blessing, if you will, from your local sheriff is still available, our understanding is that's declined steeply, and so people aren't even getting the basic training that's necessary. And so when it comes to safety, we're big proponents of the training aspect of things. So it's one thing to own a firearm, and we hear this probably daily from our customers. I got my CCW, I bought my gun, and it's sat in the safe ever since then. Okay, well, what were your goals for doing that?
Yeah.
They're obviously, we wanted to protect ourselves, or we wanted home defense, whatever it might be. And then they go on to tell us, but I don't feel confident. And so that addressing that lack of confidence is really important when it comes to training. And that's back to, one part of our fabric is helping our customers feel more confident in their ability to handle and to respond and to rely on things like muscle memory and utilize that for whatever their goal is, whether it's personal protection or sporting events, firearms sporting type events.
Okay. So. I think you've covered some of these, but what types of services are offered by Engage?
Yep. So again, we have a large offering, and it's designed to be that way so that we can cater to a wide variety of customers. We talked about the first-time shooters. We get those who maybe have some experience, maybe have their CCW, have fired many times, or maybe go to the range a couple times a year, and so they're looking for that next level. We have, for law enforcement, we do situational training, and so police departments come to us, and they can, in a simulator, practice traffic stops. They can do active shooter type scenarios. Maybe it's a domestic violence. It gives them an opportunity to be presented with a threat and then mitigate it. And that doesn't always mean pulling a trigger. And so a lot of what we do with law enforcement is there a de-escalation that can be done? Is there other means before just drawing and shooting? And that's really important. And we go a step further and provide pepper spray and taser options. And so when law enforcement comes in, we actually use their own duty belt, and we're able to holster simulated devices that they can choose which one's the best one to potentially start with. Now, sometimes things go sideways quick, and they have to go to resort to that.
Right.
But that's at the heart of the training that we do with scenarios is and it's called judgmental training for a reason. It's using your judgment to be able to respond and react. And so we do that with law enforcement. We also do that with civilians. And so we have, back to the confidence topic, we call it carry with confidence. And it's designed to be those who choose to have either firearms in their homes or carry or on their persons or in their vehicle. And it gives them a similar type of scenario. And we've got hundreds of scenarios where they're presented with a threat, and they need to decide, maybe it's in their home. They need to decide that, do I feel like my life is on the line, and can I, and am I willing to potentially to draw my firearm and to shoot at somebody? Very serious stuff. But at the same time, we also teach them, hey, there was a door behind you. Nobody else is home. You know that you're the only one at the house here. Could you have left? Well, I hadn't thought about that. And so it's a very thought-provoking process. And so it's not that type of training is not about marksmanship. It's not about, so much about getting it on target, but it's about being presented with high-stress situations that have multiple potential outcomes, and letting the customer decide which is best for them. And we don't, a lot of times they'll turn to us and say, should I have shot him? Well, maybe, let's talk about it. And so there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of conversation. Yeah. And so that's really important. And that's really on the serious side of the business. And again, we talked about bachelor parties. We also do, we found a fantastic addition to the business that we hadn't really planned much in the early days, and it's on corporate events. And so we get companies regularly that come and do two different formats that we offer for them. The individual competition, the fun, more networking type of opportunity. But we had enough requests from businesses that wanted to do team building. And so we created an experience that is very team-oriented. And so it's a lot less about the firearm or the act of shooting, but it's more about working together. How do we collaborate and discuss this so that we can clear the board as fast as we can, and as a team get a score? Or how do we, as we have if you're familiar with the game Simon, where there's colors that come on screen. It's a memorization, and so as working with a team, you can work together. Say, okay, I'll call out the blues, you call out the reds, and we'll work together to go as far as we can in that progression. And then ultimately, at the end of that experience, the team gets a score, and that's really resonated very, very well. well. And we found that businesses are looking for something different to do. As you know, a lot of companies are back in office. They've found that their teams are maybe lost a little cohesiveness.
They've spent a lot of time alone.
Yes, yeah, and so we can bring them out, show them a good time for one.
Okay,
We have
and I
catering
think there's
services.
a picture of that
There
they
is.
show.
Yep. So we've got some pictures to share. We offer catering and some other services for those types of outings, so that it's really a turnkey package for them. So that, you know, you had asked early on, what does your market look like? And it's pretty wide open. We started in more of an enthusiast mindset, and today we get folks from all backgrounds, all experience, no experience, you know, at the range to do a variety of different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talked about a number of courses already. How many sessions are typical for a course? And how long is each session?
Yep. Yeah, good question. We have two what we call classes, and they're held at usually Saturdays and Wednesday evenings. One is an intro to gun ownership, and it's a group class, and it's a little bit more traditional in format. But it's to address those questions for those who have always thought, you know, they wanted to own a firearm, and so it helps them navigate that. It used to talk about the CCW process. We still do a little bit, but that's obviously not a requirement any longer in Ohio. But it introduces the options to them. Again, doesn't answer all the questions because they need to go hold a gun, fire a gun, and do that. And then we have a fundamentals class, which is a 90-minute class. It's a hybrid where it's at a scheduled time, but folks come in and we go through those same fundamentals, but they get an opportunity to put shots on screen. They learn each technique, and it builds on each other. And at the end of the 90 minutes, you've had a pretty good introduction to the basics. But everything else that we offer is done based on reservation, and so that we can cater to our customers and their schedules. The majority of what we do is actually on demand, and so somebody might come to us and they have an option they've never shot before. Well, they can. Our most detailed or comprehensive offering is a 3-part series where they'll come for 90 minutes 3 times, and so they'll schedule it. You know, they could do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if they wanted, or they could do 1 a week or 1 a month, or whatever format works for them. But it builds on each step in the series, and by the end of it, you know, they've got several hours of training and a great background to build on.
Now, I think you've talked about some of these. What other activities or events beyond training, target shooting, courses? Does that cover everything, or are there other things as well?
You know, the corporate events we talked about. We work with church security teams, and that's really a unique offering. We're not aware of any other training out there that works with security teams. There's a surprising number of churches that have security teams that are armed. And we, again, do situational training. We do some marksmanship training with them too, but primarily they come to us for the situational or judgmental training. And we have a library of content that's in churches, and so they're presented with scenarios that are relevant to that situation. Yeah. And so that's very unique. We're not, like I said, we're not aware of anything else out there like that. But then on the fun side of things, if you will, we do competitions. Our most popular one is our Valentine's couples competition, and it's just struck a chord. This is the 4th year we've done it, and every year we've had a greater number of people participate. It's a fun outing for couples. People want to win, but it's really more about a unique experience together. A lot of people couple it with
interaction.
You got it, yeah, and they couple with dinner, and it's a really a fun outing. And usually one of the spouses or partners has a background in firearms and wants to introduce the other to it, and that's a great way to do that. So we do a variety of competitions. We run some leagues, so those who want to shoot on a regular basis can do league play with us. So there's a lot of stuff. We have a youth series, which is really our fundamentals, but it's designed more specifically for youth. We work with scouting programs. Several of them have badging or it's one of the offerings that they have. And because of our instructors and their backgrounds, it's a high quality opportunity for scouts, both boys. And in fact, I would tell you, we probably have had more Girl Scouts come in than we have had Boy Scouts, because it's a great opportunity and a safe environment for them to get with the good fundamentals.
Okay. What special activity happens when groups of 12 or more have a group outing?
So group outing is fun because what we can do is instead we have in our Avon Lake location 4 simulators, and so typically when you come in a small group, you're together and you're with an instructor. You don't have anyone else with you, and you compete more as a small group. Well, when we have larger groups and even groups bigger than that might span days or weeks, we can do competitions. And so we have a lot of TVs in our facility where it's leaderboarded, and you can see either individually or as a team how you're scoring. So it's a lot of fun, and usually there's a high competitive nature to that. And so that type of experience, if you will, is what our groups get to do when they come to us. And we've got awards. We use challenge coins that we've custom designed, and so when we do corporate events, we do an awards program where they get. It's actually a serialized coin that someday as we grow, we hope I got 0042, and my number's lower than yours, and there'll be some fun stuff to do around that in the future.
Okay. Well, where are you located?
Yep. So we're on Pinnock Parkway.
Okay.
So just off Detroit, on right before the tracks.
And you mentioned another facility in Medina? We
have a facility in Medina, yep, just off Route 18. That was our first. We opened that in August of 2019, and then opened up the Avon Lake location about 2 years ago in May of 21.
Okay, when are you typically open?
Yep, so we're open by reservation, and that allows us to align our instructors with our guests. It also helps us because when you make a reservation, they tell us a little bit about what it is they want to do, and so we can align expertise of our instructors with the actual reservations. And we look for those for 24 hours in advance. On the weekends, we have a means, if you go through our website, where you can book same-day reservations. So our hours are typically 12 to 8. A little later on the weekends, but we do look for those reservations so that we can make sure that we've got the appropriate staff and expertise to help our guests.
Okay, how can someone get in touch with you?
Yep, so the website's got a ton of information about all the different offerings that we've talked about, but they can email us, avonlake@engagevirtualrange.com. I know you're going to ask me the phone number, and I do not know it off the top of my head.
That's 216-306-0746.
Thank you very much.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay. And the website?
I don't call very often.
And the website?
Is engagevirtualrange.com. And if there's a big button across the top that says Plan Your Visit, and it steps you through all of our different offerings. I know we've talked about a lot, and that can be overwhelming, but it'll ask you some questions. Are you coming for training, or are you coming for entertainment? And then it drills down into our offerings and really makes that an easy process for folks to be able to figure out what aligns best with them.
Okay. Well, in summary, what makes sense to you and what doesn't?
Oh, geez. Responsible gun ownership is very important. It makes a lot of sense. If you're going to have a firearm and you want to be able to use it and be proficient, you need training, whether it's with us or at a live fire range. That training is very, very important. If you want to have fun, it makes sense to come to us for a unique experience. I will tell you that the guests that do that just rave reviews, smiles ear to ear when they leave. Check our Google reviews. You'll see that people love what they experience with us, and it makes sense to me. But
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chad.
Well, thank you.
Okay, and thank you for watching. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. Our emails are at the bottom of the screen. If you would like to be on the show, or an interesting person who would like to be on the show, just send us their contact information, and we'll take it from there. Again, thank you very much, and remember, seatbelts save lives.
The preceding program was presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed were not necessarily those of ALC TV or the City of Avon Lake.